Yes, we the people want more than liberty. So libertarians need to learn how to explain the real-world benefits liberty makes possible. Libertarians need to explain why a libertarian government will provide not only a freer life, but also a better life than another alternative. We need to explain how the government benefit machine fails them. Individual liberty must become more than an abstract concept. We need to point out specific government failures and emphasize actual costs. Voters must be made to understand government costs more than it benefits. What can the Libertarian Party do to make lives not just more free, but better? This is the challenge. Libertarians have to persuade people that their lives improve with less government, even though they now think the very opposite. Big government has become unsustainable. The tragedy of the commons is real. What cannot be paid will not be paid. Big government means big problems, not big solutions. Big costs promise small benefits. After all, the more stuff costs, the less we can afford. So if bigger government means smaller benefits, less government is the future. Libertarians just have to be patient. The libertarian future is inevitable because big government has no future. You and I will have to find ways to convince many more people our libertarian values are worth their support and their vote. Less government leads to a better life, not big government. We have to show people that government is still the problem. In 1833, William Foster Lloyd, a distinguished British academic, observed that when a common pasture can be used by anyone to graze cows, the pasture will become overused and lost to all. The cost of use is externalized to everybody, but the benefits are not. This famous parable is generally referred to as the tragedy of the commons. It demonstrates how access to a common resource such as a pasture or a public treasury ultimately dooms the resource because of overexploitation. Many people understand how this important concept of exploitation, getting benefits and shifting the costs, applies to government, politics, and society. Exploitation is not a public interest. Others prefer to ignore the parable as well as the consequences, the eventual tragedy, the decimation of resources. Politics as usual leads to tragedy. Politics as usual is all about getting benefits and shifting the costs to others. But most people don't think that way until forced to. They are forced to when a tragedy strikes. For example, Erie County's treasury is like the pasture in the parable. Erie County politics has failed. The treasury has been decimated by overexploitation. But our politicians share a conspiratorial silence. Where are the investigations? Who has been prosecuted? Most New Yorkers don't even know there are problems. Just as effluent pollutes streams, so laws can and do pollute society. politicians of other parties externalize costs. That's how they buy votes. For example, former state majority leader Bruno was able to externalize his district's fiscal problems to other New Yorkers outside of his district. Former Assembly leader Sheldon Silver shifted New York City debts on people who may never see New York City and on their children. Yes, politicians write laws to create benefits for some and charge the cost to others. Libertarians call that robbing Peter to pay Paul, but politics as usual, that is to say, voters and the politicians they choose, call this fair. We have to give people real examples of the tragedy of the commons, the overuse and depletion of what has been norm, free lunches. Those expected to pay for them cannot. The old normal is gone. Government bankruptcy is the new normal. What benefits can a bankrupt government deliver? Less waste, fraud, and abuse then becomes the only remaining option. Fewer laws mean more stuff. Oppressed people do not actively participate in society. Free people create. The notion of creating lunches will become more popular alternatives than going hungry with free lunches. Plunder will be rejected for what it has led to bring, tragedy, not plenty. A bankrupt government is powerless and unable to grant favors as it becomes increasingly oppressive to slow inevitable collapse. Increased oppression will hasten resistance and alienate people from government. The opposite of oppression, liberty, will again be recognized as the engine of wealth creation. When the state becomes unable to provide things people want, individuals must rely on themselves. This is the recurring story of human nature and history. What can be more libertarian?